Hunger for me, I think, represents the position of the world at any time. And it's an opportunity for nations to come together to discuss the current state of the world, but also then project into the future. But I think the one for this year in particular was quite unique because of the Summit of the Future. And my thinking was, how do we ensure that we position Nigeria strongly in these conversations about the future? Because I think most of the time we're often carried away by our current challenges without projecting into the near and far future, which is not sustainable. So I came here trying to find a balance between what sort of partnerships can we strike for immediate benefit to our people, but how do we also ensure that we participate in the shaping of the future? So the themes of my engagement, you can probably place them around, I think, 3 or 4 things. One is on the use of technology to deliver government services, because I think people all over the world are getting tired of government not being effective. 2 is this emerging trend around artificial intelligence, which is a technology that literally is about to change our future. So I was quite clear on Nigeria's participation. 3rd one is on infrastructure. What can we pull together to ensure that we can start to get partnership and funding for infrastructure? And the 3rd one is capacity building. How do we strengthen the capacity of our people to participate in all of this?
Yeah, so I would say probably around capacity building, that would be related to 3MTT, trying to get 3 million tech talent, trying to get 1 million tech jobs in the first 4 years of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu presidency.
Yes.
But you mentioned AI, and America did, the US government through Blinken, they did announce an AI fund, the AI Inclusivity Fund with some private companies for $100 million. Yes, I believe. But when you also had your own fund with Google, I believe it's an AI fund also in Nigeria, but it was 100 million naira, and you faced a lot of backlash from people within the tech community for the figure. Do you feel that we have financial constraints in Nigeria? Do you feel that, did you feel like the backlash was unfair?
I don't think so. I think there was a misunderstanding. So this is a pot of funding that Google donated and wanted to use to fund 10 startups that are just starting. So I think a lot of people were looking at the figure at the surface. People weren't looking at the support, the additional support that was coming with it. People weren't thinking of all the other efforts we were putting into getting support for people. And the $100 million you're talking about that the US government launched, if you remember at the launch, Nigeria was the only country in Global South, not just in Africa, the only Global South country that was on the stage. So I was the only minister outside of, not Nigeria, there's also Colombia. Nigeria and Colombia were the only 2 countries from Global South that were on the stage. Then you had people from ITU, from UNDP. And this fund is really to support innovators from our part of the world. So those who will benefit from the 100 million will also benefit from the $100 million as well, and the resources that will come with. So I think it simply was a misunderstanding. But our strategy with AI is not to limit it to the resources that is available just locally. It's about pulling resources together. On the 7th of October in Abuja, we're going to be launching another support of $1.5 million from Luminate, $1.5 million from Luminate. The other thing we're now doing that many people are not aware is that we are designing with an organization called AI Collaborative. We're designing the National Artificial Intelligence Trust.
Yes, I saw that, using local languages.
So that's large language model, which is going to focus on our local language. But the trust is really a trustee sort of, where you have high-ranking people in society with resources, pulling resources together to support the development of AI in Nigeria. But these folks would also work with government to ensure that the development of AI in Nigeria is safe and done in an ethical manner. So they're like a body of people that will ensure that whether government is investing or not, that the development of AI will continue to grow. And even as we build our large language model, as we digitize our data and collect them, we'll be able to monetize them, and whatever comes out of that will go into the trust, which will have a fund attached to it that will be used to fund AI in Nigeria.
Definitely. Now, we're talking about AI and technology, as you've rightly pointed out. These are very high-level issues in a country that does face a lot of low-level problems. Do you feel that there is a gap, because you spoke about misunderstanding before with the Google Fund, for example. Do you think there's a gap in misunderstanding what it is you're doing, what it is you're accomplishing, your role as a minister? And how do you navigate that world of politics? Because you did come from the tech ecosystem where everybody might understand what you're talking about, but the average Nigerian might not, understand intrinsically this work you're speaking about. So do you think it's difficult to communicate?
I don't think so. I think the challenge is when you're building big, right? You'll be losing the plot if your focus is ensuring that people are beating the drum for you from the first day. It's always difficult. I think what's important is that you ensure that the key stakeholders have clarity in terms of understanding what you want to build. And people need to understand the role of technology in society. It's about enabling things, and these things don't happen overnight. So I'll give an example. We are working on laying 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable across Nigeria. I'll be naive to expect people to start praising me on that in the first 12 months, because that's a project that it'll probably take 18 months to be able to put the $2 billion together. And the actual laying of the fiber will take another 2 to 3 years. But I'm not going to say I won't work on a project like that because there's poverty in the land. Because the projection is in the short to medium time, what can we do to start to alleviate these things? And my role as a technology minister is to be futuristic and build things that can quickly get us out of it. It's also why we're prioritizing things like 3MTT, for instance, that is focused on immediate benefit to people. It is why we've worked on the 774 project, which is to connect local government secretariats. And remember, the president has now made it possible for funding to go directly to local government secretariat. If I'm able to connect them in the short to medium term, they can better provide services to our people at the grassroots. These are changes that people will start to see 18, 24 months. And the honest truth is that those who understand the trajectory for technology, be it locally or the big international bodies, they see what Nigeria is doing. And that's why Nigeria is now represented in all these conversations. That's why we were part of Secretary Blinken's announcement, because people see what we're building and they know that this is something that, give it 12 months, you'll start to see significant impact. The people we're training with 3MTT, 3 million technical talents, a lot of them are already finding jobs, right? The other thing we've been successful with at UNGA is amplifying our focus on digital public infrastructure, which is changing how we use technology to deliver services to our people. Whether it's when you give birth to a child and you need to register that child, you want to register a business, get your driver's license, get your passport. We are harmonizing that process by building something that is called the data exchange. And that's one of the things we received the biggest support for at UNGA. So we have the likes of MasterCard Foundation that is interested in helping us look at what we want to do there and how do we ensure that the security side of it is strong. We've now reached an alignment with Cisco to set up a center of excellence to do exactly the same thing, strengthening our work in how we use technology in government. The UN is supporting us on this work. We joined an organization here at UNGA a few days ago, which is a collective of different countries that are using technology smartly. That is called 50 in 5. Nigeria is now a member. And part of the idea there is that we can learn from all these organizations so that we can amplify how we're using technology. At UNGA, we got commitment for people to continue to support our training program here at UNGA. At UNGA, we had proper conversation where Nigeria is now leading on how do we start to protect digital infrastructure so that services that our people receive will become a lot stronger. The list is endless of what we've been able to do, and I think with time, people will start to see, but those who understand technology are already saying.
So your 30+ engagements have been fruitful?
Oh no, you know this why I came with the long list because I thought I thought this is a good interview. We have to be accountable and be able to tell our people what we get up to.
That, people are like they don't want to see members of their government going here or the other, but there are reasons why such events are attended. But we want to see results.
Absolutely, and a lot of these results, I challenge people to track them. We had a fantastic meeting with the Deputy Secretary General, who is also now, who's our sister and auntie and mother, and she's also been able to secure some support for us, again, in terms of how technology is used in government.
Is it financial support?
It's financial support, but I'm not going to be able to declare where it's coming from. It's something we'll declare. I've mentioned the fact that we joined the 50 in 1, On artificial intelligence, I mentioned the fact that the $100 million US, Nigeria is part of the destination for support. Mozilla Foundation and OpenAI, they've also committed to working with us to finding ways for us to continue to digitize our data so that it can both serve how we do things, but also improve our participation in AI. There's an organization that is called the AI Collaborative. They've committed to supporting us to design our national AI trust so that we can create jobs there and we can continue to drive it. I'll talk about cybersecurity, MasterCard, the actual MasterCard, not MasterCard Foundation, and Cisco. I mentioned this earlier, they've both committed to helping us deepening how we protect both government services and our people. On infrastructure, we had a renewed conversation, again, on that 90,000 kilometer fiber optic cable. We had a proper dinner even with the World Bank team where we've agreed on the path forward and we'll be announcing exactly how much they're funding. I mentioned the fact that we participated in the Paris Peace Forum where Nigeria is going to be playing a leader as we discuss how we protect submarine cables. Many people don't know that the internet we use actually is carried by cables under the sea.
In terms of trying to bridge the gap between the diaspora and Nigerians back home, what role does the San Francisco House play in that?
It's a fantastic question. So on one hand, the goal of the San Francisco House is to ensure that we can actually connect the entire Bay Area to Nigeria. As you know, over 90% of the funding to technology startups in Nigeria is from that part of the world. But at the same time as well, to what you were referring to, we do have a strong diaspora community in the Bay Area, working within the startup ecosystem, technology ecosystem. And the belief is that this house will be the place for tech entrepreneurs that are already building exciting solutions and businesses in Nigeria to come on a quarterly basis. So we're going to have rotation where every quarter there will be about 14 startups from Nigeria that will reside in the house. The opportunity will be for them to meet investors, large technology companies, partners, but I think most importantly as well is to meet the Nigerian diaspora. A lot of them who work in product development and management, so they can help these people truly understand how to build world-class products. Quite a number of them work in the venture capital space. They can also help them understand. So it's connecting their expertise and using it to strengthen our market. And Nigeria is already one of the top two destinations for startup funding in Africa. We believe with the Startup House, with more people gaining better understanding of our market, that we can drive that funding hub. As against Nigeria becoming number one, we actually believe that the total funding, for instance, 2 years ago by the startup ecosystem in Africa was around 5 billion. We think Nigeria alone can be doing 5 billion a year. Yes. Right? So that's the goal with this building. People don't understand the nitty-gritty details of how to convert it because it used to be an embassy. There's a designation for buildings like that, so we have to work with the US government to ensure that they are aware of the new classification. And I have to say this, I'm extremely proud that the Executive Council actually approved this, because aside from Nigeria, the two other known countries with similar setup in the Bay Area is Switzerland and South Korea. So we're going to be in the league of top nations in the world.